Pinball circuit activated.
So we got my shadow here. I got this at TPF. It's all there and it plays. It's playing. It's just not playing well. It needs a shop job. A couple of the ramps are broken. It's pretty common on these games. The welds on these ramps are not the greatest and they tend to break. So we're going to be shopping this game, and I thought I'd do a quick video on how to shop a game or how to shop the shadow specifically. We've got a couple of issues we need to address. Besides the broken ramp here, the drop targets on the battlefield here are really gummed up and they don't drop well. So we're going to be rebuilding that. And then also the lower GI on this, the light board is out. Usually that's either a burnt connector or it's a bad fuse. So we'll figure that out. So let's get going. An issue that we have on this game is that the bottom half of the light panel's out. Usually that's bad connection or bad fuse. So what you do, find your cord here for your lights, just give it a tug, figure out which connector it is, and look at that loveliness. So we're going to rebuild that, and I'm going to rebuild that one too, because it's pretty toasty. So let's do that. So in case you missed it the first time I went through this, this is how you rebuild the connector. So the first thing you want to do is I use these long, I just get these in as long as they come, and I cut them to size. So you want to get the orientation correct. So there's a little notch here that connects in to the actual connector there, to the header pin. So we want to get that oriented correctly. Okay, so it's going to go like that. Then what I do is I just line it up and I see where do they need to cut, which is right there. So take your Dremel tool and this is a plastic cutoff wheel. Okay, so line her up, see exactly where it is you're going to cut, which is that guy right there. Okay, so now I take my little Dremel sanding wheel and I'm just going to clean up that edge. I'm going to do this away from the machine so it doesn't get plastic stuff all over the machine. All right, so now we should have a correct sized connector. You can see there that we do, they all line up. Okay, now what you want to do is locate your key pin, and for that we need the pins, which come in a pack. Okay, I get all my stuff from Great Plains Electronics. You can buy them in bulk. It's pretty inexpensive. Makes your life easy. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up the way that it goes, making sure the orientation is correct, okay, making sure that the little nib there that sticks into the header pin is correct. We're going to line it up, and this header pin, or this key pin, goes into the fourth one on this side. So you just, fourth one on that side, okay? Push it in. Okay, now you're keyed. Now what you can do is just start building. So if there's a lot of these, I'll tape it together so I make sure. This one's only got, what, 6 wires? So it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to start from this side, cut that wire. Okay, we're going to strip it with, where do my wire strippers go? Here they are. So strip it out. Okay. Now what you need is the pins, which I got these. I don't usually use this kind, but I'm going to use them up, so we're going to use it. These are 0.156 pins, which is correct for the wire gauge. You need your your crimpers, okay? And what I do is for this, I use the back one because it's a little bit bigger. Load your pin, one click. Okay, so that's in there. It's loaded, it's got one click in it. You take your wire and you're gonna just feed it in there, get the wire jacket, get the jacket in there, squeeze it shut. Now, what you wanna see is the plastic jacket captured in this pin and the wire itself captured in this pin, and then just give it a tug and we're good. Now, make sure that you put it in the right spot. So again, we're gonna line this up, and this wire goes in the final spot of this side. And there's a little pin on the top, little keeper pin, that goes up here, okay? So we're going to take this, and that little pin's gonna go that way, and you just push it in. And, oops, hopefully we do it right. That way. Okay. Now, that pin is locked in place. Double check one more time that we're good. And we are. Okay. So now we just build from there. And there's our old semi-crusty connector. I don't think that was the one that was causing the problem, but when you see crusty connector, replace crusty connector. Some people will go to the length of replacing all the connectors on a game. I personally have never done that. If it was a game that I was really going to keep forever and ever and ever, and I wanted it to be absolutely perfect, I would probably take the time to do so. And there is a game coming that might fit that description. We'll see. This one's going to go right here. Okay, so there is a rebuilt connector. I'll do this one. Okay. All right, so finished rebuilding those connectors, made sure they're in the correct orientation, and they are. So we're going to see if that fixed our problem. So originally, this whole area was not lining up. So let's find out. Hey, look at that. So, got some bulbs out or whatever, but we're good. I'm going to replace all these with LEDs. All right, cool. Mission accomplished. All right, so I think the first thing to do is take off this upper playfield. And I've actually never shopped this game before, so we're all going to learn together of how this comes apart. I'm going to guess that we take this shroud off first, and that might show us where the actual connection points are on this thing. There's two screws here that go into some brackets that are right here. So that might be part of it, but let's get this shroud off and see if we can get a better look. And when I shop a game, especially when I've never done before, I always like to kind of do it in phases. I mean, I don't want to tear everything apart all at once unless I have to, because it makes it a lot easier to get confused and not know how it goes back together. So I'm going to try and get this part, this upper playfield rebuilt and sorted, and then also the area underneath it cleaned, and get the get whatever rubbers are under there replaced, and get that area kind of going before I do anything else. So let's just see. So this comes off. And there is a screw. It's supposed to be in the back, but it's missing, so we'll replace that. That's why it was flopping around like that. I do have a buddy that made me a new sticker, and I've seen some people paint these gold or whatever. I don't know. Try to leave it the way it is for now. Just put that there. Okay, so now we can look and see there is some kind of a screw going in there. There's one here. There's a bracket across the bottom. Okay, I think I'm seeing. There's a bracket there, which is going to be a bear to get to. How are you supposed to get to that thing? Maybe that bracket stays there. Where does this hook into? Let's just write it down. Okay, there's a bolt here. So this clearly needs to come off. There we go. And, ooh, now we're looking better. Now then that just, oh, it just hinges, cool. Look at that. Hinges right up there for easy service. Well done, Bally, Williams, Midway, whatever you were calling yourself at this point. Okay, so let's go ahead and clean. I'm gonna go ahead and clean under here first. And there are no plastics, or sorry, no rubbers back here. There is, this is broken. So there's a plastic that's supposed to go here that's broken. It's probably not even worth having this little nub here right now. I'll eventually get some plastics for this game, but for now, I'm not gonna mess with it. Just gonna clean. Okay. All right, so this is the rear of the Shadow Battlefield. You can see your drop targets are there. So you can see there's some little C-shaped clips there. So I'm going to remove those, and there's some down here as well. Interestingly, the top ones have washers, the bottom ones do not, so I'll just remember that for later. I'm not sure if there were supposed to be ones on these posts or not. I don't see anything there, so it may be that those aren't supposed to be there. But I'm going to take this off, and then we're going to see if I can get enough access to these to rebuild this mech, or if I have to take the whole mech off from the front. So let's try that. All right, so that actually came off pretty easily. Here's the other side of it. It's not too bad. I'm gonna clean all these optos out with some alcohol and a Q-tip and just clean this board a little bit before we reinstall it, just to make sure that those optos are working correctly. So now what we're gonna do is, you can see why these are not moving very well. This is really pretty gummed up. So I'm going to remove all of these drop targets and remove the springs. We're going to clean everything really well and clean up where these channels are, where these drops are riding, and then we'll reassemble it and see what we get. This is what I'm left with when I take off one of the drops. You can see there's some kind of a grease or something here, which that's a little bit odd because I haven't seen grease on drop targets before. Usually they ride kind of dry with maybe just a little bit of lubricant, but not this much. So I'm going to remove all that, and to do that I'm going to use some simple green and some alcohol and some Q-tips. I decided to just remove this entire assembly because it is so gummed up. I'm going to remove all of these and soak it in some evaporust because it does a pretty good job of getting rid of grease. And so what I've done is I removed the little the screws that were in there, and I've removed the coil. I'll replace that coil sleeve. And it also gives me easy access to replace these lights and this flasher bulb once I get ready to do that. And then I'll also, while I've got it apart, go ahead and just take a little Q-tip and some Windex and clean in here to get all the dust out of there. So those inserts are all clean. So I'm going to disassemble this and we're going to dunk it in some Evaporust for a few hours and see what that does to all this grease. All right, there's all those pieces off, and here's our little pile of parts. I'm going to put all this in my ultrasonic cleaner with some Simple Green and get all this goo off of here. And then I'm probably going to dunk these in the same ultrasonic cleaner and get these cleaned up a bit, and then we'll Novus them and clean them up. I've got some decals coming to put on the top and make them look a little nicer because I don't want to spend the money for brand new targets since they're all, you know, they're all in decent structural shape. They're just ugly. So let's get it cleaning. All right, after a little bit of experimentation, I was able to figure out how to get this motor off. There are set screws on the side here that go into these rods, and you need to take those off, and then it'll come off the top, okay? And so what we're looking at is our gear here, and I'm gonna clean that a bit. And then if you look here, this is my rack, and you can see we've got some damage there. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace this, and we will grease it back together. These rods are dry fit, and so we're just going to clean them and polish them. There's not going to be any grease on here because it will heat over time as it moves back and forth and turn into glue, and you don't want that. And then I'm also going to clean up the kicker target. And there's our pinion gear all cleaned up. Just use a toothbrush and some Simple Green. WD-40 actually works as well, for pretty good for grease removal. All right, so let's get this thing back together. All right, so that's all done. Moves nicely. So now I'm gonna rebuild the drops. And I'm gonna set this on something just to keep the pressure off of that. There. Something like that. Okay, drop targets. Now, all right, so what should happen? Roll these up. Like that. And beautiful. So much smoother. Yep, we're good. All right, cool. Okay, got the back side pretty much back together. We've got the kicking target here, working well. It's on newly polished rails that have been degreased. And then we have our new pinion rack here. Original, well not original, that's an upgraded brass gear, and I greased all of that. I've got the drop target bank here rebuilt. I went ahead and put in 2 LEDs at these 2 spots. I've got to wait for my comment order to put the LEDs in here, and I've got an LED flasher that's going to go in there at some point. Hopefully the comment order comes in today, maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Just to show you on this side. So what I've got here is you've got your optos, okay? And there's a little fin on these drop targets that goes in the opto when the drop target's down. And then these are just the same keeper pins as before. So yeah, that's all rebuilt, nice and shiny now, looks much better. So let's start on the front side, on the top here. And what I'm gonna do with this is, make sure it's not sitting on those pins, first of all. I think we're okay. So I'm just gonna clean this with some Novus. And I'm gonna clean all of these side targets as well. For wax, you can probably see I use Blitz wax. It's the one that I've been the happiest with overall. I've used other waxes, I've used liquid waxes. They tend to leave a lot of residue and just white goo kind of everywhere. And this stuff doesn't do that, which is nice. Okay, got the back side pretty much back together. We've got the kicking target here, working well. It's on newly polished rails that have been degreased. And then we have our new pinion rack here. Original, well not original, that's an upgraded brass gear, and I greased all of that. I've got the drop target bank here rebuilt. I went ahead and put in 2 LEDs at these 2 spots. I've got to wait for my comet order to put the LEDs in here, and I've got an LED flasher that's going to go in there at some point. Hopefully the comet order comes in today, maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Just to show you on this side. So what I've got here is you've got your optos, okay? And there's a little fin on these drop targets that goes in the opto when the drop target's down. And then these are just the same keeper pins as before. So yeah, that's all rebuilt, nice and shiny now, looks much better. So let's start on the front side, on the top here. And what I'm gonna do with this is, make sure it's not sitting on those pins, first of all. I think we're okay. So I'm just going to clean this with some Novus. And I'm going to clean all of these side targets as well. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and support it because I don't want to put too much pressure on any of these pieces underneath. I really just want to clean this, and then I'm going to put a coat of wax on it just to make it nice and protected and playable. I'm going to pop these back and just clean back here a little bit too. Find my Novus pile here. I'm just going to clean up this area back here. Okay. So what we'll do, I'll get a fresh rag, and we can put some wax on it. So just a quick handheld to show you where we're at with this. So this sanctum brick wall is going to be removed and cleaned. We'll get that kind of sorted out. I'm going to clean a little bit more back here, and then you can see back here, this is where it probably has like never been cleaned. And so we're going to get all this cleaned up, and then I'm also going to get this piece off so I can get back there and clean all of that. So once we get all this cleaned up, I'm going to replace this flasher with an LED flasher, and then we can kind of put some wax in this area and start putting things back together. You can see the plastics are broken, but again, I haven't ordered plastics for this game yet. I might in the future. If I decide to really bling it out and do something with it, I'll put new plastics on it. The playfield's actually cleaning up pretty well. I'm gonna do a little bit of magic eraser and just see if I can get it really clean back here. But otherwise it's cleaning up pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it so far. That's where we're at. This is the same area after cleaning with Novus 2, and I did actually use a little bit of magic eraser. Magic eraser, if you're not familiar with it, it's a little micro abrasive pad, and you can use it in pinball. It's a good little trick, but you got to be careful with it. You got to know what you're doing, because you can, if you get super aggressive with it, it's hard to do on this because this is not clear coated, but it's got a seal coat on it, playfield. If you're using it on older playfields, you got to really be careful because you can take paint off. So, but the nice thing is, like, there was a big ball trail here, and it pretty much got all that out. If you look, for example, here, okay, we're going to take our magic eraser, and this is Mylard, so this will clean up pretty well. See? And this really does a good job of getting all of the junk out of there. And then just wipe it. There you go. Show you guys a little trick here. So if you have a bulb that's hard to get to, okay, go get yourself some tubing that's the same size as the bulb. You can just stick it down on top of it, take it out. Get your new bulb and stick it in the tube, okay? And you just do the reverse. Ta-da. Cost you 10 cents. While you're going through this process, whenever you see an opto, which this is an opto right here, good idea, take a Q-tip and put some rubbing alcohol on it and just clean the little sensor thing here on both sides, sensor and the emitter. It'll save you some heartache down the road. Whenever I see an opto, I try and just hit it with a little bit of cleaner. It's not that dirty, but if these things get gummed up and dirty, they'll cause problems. Quick little video to just point out the differences between ramps. So this side is the original stock ramp, and this is a ramp from Mantis that you can get online. So this ramp is fine actually, but if you can see, it is spot welded with tabs here. And these welds tend to break over time, and then you have a broken ramp. If you look at the Mantis one, okay, it's actually bent steel, and then it's welded fully on the corners. So much stronger, much better quality ramp. So I'm replacing both ramps on my game with these Mantis ramps. So once again, original ramp, Mantis ramp. Oops, broken spot welds. So that's the problem with the originals. And then look on the bottom of the Mantis. That ain't gonna happen. So, I've been really impressed with these Mantis ramps. I mean, they're about $200, I think. Maybe a little bit less than that to get all of them, or to get both of them. But these suckers are not gonna break. I'm actually gonna try, because I'm trying to learn to weld. I'm gonna try and weld this back together, and then I'll have some backups, or maybe I'll sell it, who knows. But that's why you have to replace those. Here's where we ended on the Shadow. Replaced everything with LEDs. Did trough lighting. I like to do that on my games. Went with blue here. We'll see. I thought about green, but I thought then there was too much green and not enough blue on the playfield, so that may change over time. We'll see. Here's our purple posts, clear Titan rubbers. I go with clear on most of my earlier games because they're dark enough already, and I don't tend to use spotlights as much. So I did get some decals for some of the things here. You can see we got some decals there. We've got the decal way back there that you can't really see. Blue bulbs. I went ahead and redid. I got some new decals for the battlefield. You can see it over there. It's kind of cool. And I also got new decals for the diverters that are the blue brick to kind of go with the blue theme. And we've got purple back there. Here is our battlefield that was all redone. I put a comet strip light back there. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that or not. There's a little bit of a reflection on the playfield that I'm not sure I like, but for now it'll be fine. Here's our new mantis ramps. They look great. And all of our brass was polished out and looks good, and it plays really well. And then on the back glass, I did mainly sunlight white. I did do some greens where the logo is there, the shadow, so it's a little bit more of a green effect. And there's a couple of reds in the scarf. I do have a different translite coming that's going to be pretty cool, but we'll see. That one looks cool for now. And that's it. It's playing pretty good. All done.